Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradari. Jaya Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopinata, Radha Gopinata Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadramaya. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parishara Stotar Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Shailesi Bhakti Ranta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Beauty Founder Acharya Jaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna everyone. So welcome to our Sunday Feast program. So today we'll be discussing from Bhagavad Gita, and we'll be discussing from chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, a famous verse that most of us would have come across. So this is chapter 9, text number 22. So this verse is talking about how Krishna, for his devotees, he acts as the supreme maintainer and protector. So before we start, we'll offer the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksulmanitam Yena Tasmei Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so this is chapter 9 titled The Most Confidential Knowledge. Text number 22. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana parupasate tesam nitya bhayuktanam yoga shemam vahamiyaham. Translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So in the Acharyas, they explain that the whole Bhagavad Gita, as we all know, it comes in 18 chapters. And our previous Acharyas explained that we can divide up the whole Bhagavad Gita into 3 sections. The first 6 chapters, the middle 6 chapters, and then the last 6 chapters. And our Acharyas explain, they give a analogy or like a metaphor for the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. They give the metaphor of a treasure chest. So in movies, cartoons, we've all seen, a treasure chest will be like a big, nice box, wooden box. And there'll be a base of the box. Then there will be a lid or a cover for the box. And in the middle will be the actual treasure, where there will be a lot of jewels, diamonds, gold coins, so on and so forth. So the Acharyas explain that Bhagavad Gita is similarly set out. The 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. So the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, they talk about the yoga ladder, all the different types of yoga, karma yoga, jnana yoga, astanga yoga. And then finally, the end of the 6th chapter, Krishna, he introduces bhakti yoga. So these first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita are considered as the base or the bottom of the treasure chest. Then the lid of the Bhagavad Gita, the lid of the treasure chest, is considered as the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, chapters 13 to 18. And these chapters talk primarily about the 3 modes of material nature. Then we have the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, chapters 12, chapters 7 to 12. And our acharyas explain that these middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, they are the most important. And this is where the real essence is. This is where the real nectar is. And this is the actual treasure of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is like the inside of the treasure chest, which is actually of the most value. This is where all the jewels, the diamonds, all the most valuable things are stored in the middle of the treasure chest. So that's the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, chapters 7 to 12. So now amongst these 6 chapters in the middle, it is said that the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is the most important. The 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is explained as to be containing the essence of the essence. So you'll find in this particular chapter, which is titled, The Most Confidential Knowledge, you'll find a lot of very famous key verses of Bhagavad Gita, which exclusively talk about pure devotion to Krishna. So again, Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. The most important are the middle 6 chapters, which talk exclusively about bhakti and nothing else. Amongst these 6 chapters in the middle, the most important is 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which exclusively talks about pure devotional service. One time, Srila Prabhupada, he was visiting Europe, particularly he was arriving in Paris. At that time, His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj, he was based in a city which was about 13-hour drive away from Paris. So Indradyumna Maharaj, at that time, he was in a yoga studio. They had hired a yoga studio to do a preaching program for the local people there. And he was in a yoga studio doing kirtan, and then after kirtan, he was giving a class like this from Bhagavad Gita, preaching to the local people in that particular small town in France. In the middle of the class, one of the devotees, they come and whisper into Maharaj's ear that Srila Prabhupada has just arrived in France, he's just arrived in Paris, we have to leave immediately. If we don't leave now, we'll miss Srila Prabhupada's darshan, and who knows when we'll get Prabhupada's personal association again. Now, Paris is a 13-hour drive from this particular city in which Indradyumna Maharaj is based. So Indradyumna Maharaj says, I can't just leave the class in the middle, I should at least finish the class. This is what Prabhupada will want, for us to preach to the local people. So give me 10-15 minutes, I'll quickly finish the class, then we'll go for a long drive, 13-hour drive to Paris, so we can come in time for Srila Prabhupada's class and we can get Prabhupada's association. So then he's at the yoga studio, he's giving the class, he quickly wraps up the class in 10-15 minutes. Then at the end of the class, he announces to the audience that just now my spiritual master has arrived in France. The very same book which we're discussing from, the author of this book, Bhagavad Gita as it is, he's just arrived in Paris. And just now, me and all of my friends, we're going to go for a long drive to Paris to meet A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Now, whoever wants, you can all come with us. We have a nice Sankirtan van, you can hop on, and we can all go for a nice drive together to Paris, and you can meet the very same person who has written these books. So then Indradyumna Maharaj, he asked this question to audience, so who wants to go? Then at the back of the yoga studio, there was one general from the army, dressed in his, Navy, a general from the Navy, dressed in his Navy uniform, right at the back. And he raises his arm up and says, I want to come. Somehow or other, he got inspired by Paramatma, and he just raised his hand up. And he wasn't alone. He had a wife and 2 children. And then Indradyumna Maharaj asks, so you really want to come? And he says, yes, I want to come. And not only will I come, my wife will come, and my 2 children will also come with me. And then Indradyumna Maharaj says that, but we have to leave now, otherwise we'll miss. Are you ready to leave now? He said, no problem, just give us 15 minutes. I'll quickly call my wife. I'll get her to arrange all the kids. We'll bring our stuff. Then we'll go drive behind you. So that's what they do. Indradyumna Maharaj, he drives his Sankirtan van with the other devotees there. And this general from the Navy, from the French Navy, he's following the Sankirtan van in his car along with his wife and 2 children. And they go for a long 13-hour drive from this small town in France all the way to Paris. So after this long 13-hour drive, finally they arrive in Paris. in the temple, the ISKCON Hare Krishna temple of Paris. They come in, Prabhupada is there, and Indra Maharaj, he shows devotees that, this is a big person. He's a general from the French Navy, and he's come all the way from this town, 13 hours away, just to see Srila Prabhupada. Then the devotee says, yes, you please bring him to Prabhupada. Prabhupada will be very pleased. So they bring him to Prabhupada's quarters. Just at that time, Prabhupada is giving a class, and when Prabhupada, he sees this big French Navy general, dressed in Navy clothes come in, Prabhupada immediately, he notices him and calls him over. Then this Navy man, he sits right in front of Srila Prabhupada, along with his wife and 2 children. And then Prabhupada starts inquiring from him, who is, how did he come? In general, he inquires from him. And Prabhupada talks to him, preaches to him for maybe 40-45 minutes, explaining Bhagavad Gita, explaining about the different varnas, there's Kshatriyas, Brahmanas, Shudras and Vaishyas, and no matter what background you come from, you can all engage your skills, your propensities in worshipping Krishna. And Prabhupada, he gives Arjuna as an example. Arjuna, he was a warrior, he was a military man just like you. And he was a pure devotee of the Lord. He was able to practice Krishna consciousness. Although he was a warrior, although he was a military man and a family man just like you. So in this way, Prabhupada preached to this Navy man. So you're just like Arjuna also. You can also take up to bhakti. You can also practice Krishna consciousness. Like this, Prabhupada preached to him for 40-45 minutes. Then this man asks, whatever you've been saying, it really makes sense. And I want to go deeper into this. What should I do to go deeper? Is there any book I can read? And then Prabhupada, he asks one of his disciples to go get a copy of Bhagavad Gita as it is, a French edition of Bhagavad Gita. Then one of the devotees, they get a French edition of Bhagavad Gita. They give to Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada, he gives French Bhagavad Gita to this Navy general and says, you read this book, everything you need to know is in this book. All your questions will be answered. Then the man, he gets the book, and initially he's a bit scared. It's a big, thick book, with 1,000 pages. And so naturally he asked this question to Srila Prabhupada but Prabhupada, this book is so big, it has more than 1,000 pages. I'm a busy man, I have a family, I have 2 children, and I'm a general in the Navy, French Navy. I have so many responsibilities, I'm always on duty. I don't think I'll have time to read this big book, I just don't have time. At most, maybe I can just read 1 chapter or 2, that's it. Then Srila Prabhupada sympathizes with this Navy general and tells him, don't worry, you don't have to read the full book. All you do is, you just simply open up to chapter 9, and you just simply read this 1 chapter. Chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita. You read chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, everything you need to know about Krishna is in this chapter. You can skip the rest of Gita, you just read this 1 chapter. If you don't have time, just focus on chapter 9. All your questions about Krishna, Krishna consciousness, bhakti will be answered in this chapter. So in this way, in this particular pastime, Srila Prabhupada again, he emphasizes that of all the chapters of Bhagavad Gita, this 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is the most important. So all the key verses in Bhagavad Gita to be memorized, you'll find in this chapter. And especially this chapter focuses only on bhakti, bhakti and bhakti, especially pure bhakti. So that's why this chapter is very important for all of us. I'll read the translation again, so today we're discussing text number 22 of this chapter. Ananyas chintayantamam ye jana paripasate tesam nitya bhayuktanam yoga shemam vahami aham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So in this verse, Krishna, he is assuring Arjuna, his devotee, that for anyone who is engaged in Krishna's service with great love and devotion, exclusively worshipping Krishna and Krishna only, and who is doing this regularly, day in and day out, then Krishna, he feels very obliged to them. He feels very grateful. And to reciprocate with his devotees, Krishna, out of gratitude, he is promising here that he personally carries whatever his devotees lack. And he personally protects whatever the devotees have in their possession. So Krishna is giving this assurance that for his devotees, he carries what they lack, and he will preserve or he will protect whatever his devotees have. So in this way, Krishna is showing his gratitude. If we read Nectar of Devotion, given by Srila Rupa Goswami, which talks about the complete science of bhakti, there's one chapter which talks about 64 different qualities of Krishna. And one of the qualities of Krishna given is gratefulness. Krishna, he feels very grateful for all the services his devotees do. And he never forgets. Even the smallest service we do, Krishna will never forget and he will reciprocate with us accordingly. Just like I was hearing from Ganesham Prabhu recently, he was explaining to us that if you come early in the morning to the temple opens at 4:30, but Krishna, he'll wake up from his bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. So if you're here in the temple, if you come at 3:59 a.m. in the morning, and you walk in the temple, at exactly 4 o'clock, you'll hear the pujaris ring a bell. If you hear very carefully, you'll hear a bell will be ringing behind the closed curtains. So this bell is Krishna's alarm clock. So every day, Krishna, he wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And he goes to bed at 9:30. At 9:30, he goes to bed. And 4 o'clock in the morning, that's when his alarm bell rings, and that's when Krishna wakes up. Now, during this time, from 9:30 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning, that's the time when Krishna sleeps. And Ghanshyam Prabhu is explaining that according to Shastra, during this time when Krishna is sleeping, one shouldn't come and offer obeisances in front of Krishna or in front of the deities. So the next question to be asked is, why we shouldn't offer obeisances? Isn't it given in the Bhagavad Gita? Krishna is saying, worship me, offer your obeisances unto me, engage in devotional service. So offering obeisance is one of the primary activities of bhakti. So Ghanshyam Prabhu has explained that it's given in the Shastra that Krishna, he's very grateful and he feels very obliged when devotees engage in his service. Just like if we come to a temple and someone with a nice big smile greets us and asks us, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji or Mataji, how are you doing? Then naturally we'll also smile back at them. If someone is doing like this to us, we'll also do like this. If someone smiles at us, we also feel obliged to smile back at them. If someone asks someone speaks some nice sweet words to us, we're also obliged to speak some nice sweet words to them. It's general etiquette. We feel obliged. Someone is treating us very nicely, there's this feeling of obligation, gratitude, and we also respond in an equal way. So in the same way the Shastras explain, when Krishna is sleeping, and a devotee comes and bows down in front of him, then Krishna, he wakes up from his bed. Because he feels so obliged that his devotee is coming and offering dandavats. Krishna, he wakes up from his sleep because he's Antaryami, he knows everything. He wakes up from his bed, he comes down and he offers obeisances back to his own devotee. So that's why the Shastras explain we shouldn't offer obeisances to their lordships during their sleeping time, which is 9:30 to 4. And also after lunch. So generally lunch is a big meal, so after lunch you feel a bit tired, so you take an afternoon nap. So Krishna, he also has an afternoon nap. So during that time also, we shouldn't offer obeisances. Otherwise Krishna, out of his humility, out of his gratitude, he'll wake up from his bed and he'll offer obeisances back to us. So that is how humble Krishna is. That is how grateful Krishna is. So devotees, they don't want to disturb the Supreme Lord's sleep. So that's why we don't offer obeisance that time. So Krishna, this is one of his qualities. He is very grateful for whatever service his devotees render unto him. In Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami, he gives the example of Jambavan. In Ramayana, Jambavan, he does a lot of service for Lord Ramachandra. And Jambavan, out of love for Lord Ramachandra, he wants to offer whatever he has for the pleasure of Lord Ramachandra. So Jambavan, he has a very beautiful young daughter, Jambavati. So naturally, he comes up to Lord Ramachandra and says, my dear Lord, I have this beautiful daughter, I want to offer her at your lotus feet. You please marry her and she will serve you very nicely. But then Lord Ramachandra, he has taken this vow of Eka Patni Vrata, I'll only marry one wife. And he's married Mother Sita. So Lord Ramachandra, he has to politely decline Jambavan's offer. That, sorry, I've taken this vow of only accepting one wife, so I can't marry your daughter, Jambavati. So Rupa Goswami, he talks about this. Then he fast forwards and he comes to Krishna Leela. In Krishna Leela, Krishna again, he comes in touch with Jambavan. And then they have a big fight as the pastime goes. Then after the fight, again, this time, Jambavan, he offers his daughter, Jambavati, to Krishna. And this time, Krishna, he accepts. And Krishna, when he's accepting Jambavati, he remembers. Previously in the past, as Lord Ramachandra, my devotee had offered, but I couldn't satisfy him. But in this particular incarnation, I will satisfy. So Krishna arranged his whole Leela just so he could fulfill the desire of his devotee. Now, in between Krishna Leela and Lord Ram's Leela, Rupa Goswami explains that millions of years passed. From the time when Lord Ramachandra was here to the time when Krishna appeared. Millions of years had passed. But even after millions and millions of years, Krishna, he still remembered that many, many millions of years ago, my devotee Jambavan, he had this desire to offer his daughter. I couldn't satisfy him. No problem. Now, when I come as Krishna, I will make an arrangement so I can fulfill the desire of my devotee. So like this, Rupa Goswami, he gives this as an example of Krishna's quality of gratefulness. Any service we do, any inclination we have to do Krishna service, Krishna is personally, he's seated in our heart, and he's personally taking note and keeping record. And he never forgets. Millions and billions of years can go by, but Krishna, he always remembers every single small service we do for him. And he will reciprocate accordingly. So this is one of the verses where Krishna is showing us his quality of gratitude or the obligation he feels towards his devotees. Whenever devotees, they offer service unto him, Krishna's heart gets completely melted and Krishna, he's forced to reciprocate with his devotees. So in this verse, Krishna is saying that anyone, ananyas chintayantaman. Ananyas chintayantaman means without deviation, with full focus. If someone is always constantly meditating on me, 24 hours a day. And the second qualification is tesam nitya bhiyuktaman. Nitya means constantly, daily. So if someone is exclusively focused on Krishna and Krishna only, and is serving the Lordship day in and day out without stop. So this is one of the qualities given that very much attracts Krishna's attention, which is consistency. If Krishna is seeing that a particular devotee is consistently day in and day out doing his service nicely, then that shows that this devotee is serious. If someone is not serious, then one day they'll come do service. Another couple of days they won't do it, then another day they'll come. But if someone is coming day in and day out, non-stop, religiously and doing their service, then that shows that this devotee, he's very serious, he's very committed, he's very sincere. Just like in school or university, some students, they'll always be there on time. They will attend all the classes. Other students, they'll bunk half the classes. You won't see them so much around. So the teacher will feel more obliged to teach those students who are always there right on time, ready to hear, and who never miss a single class. Those students will attract the teacher's attention more. In the same way, those devotees who very consistently, sincerely make a dedication, make a commitment to do service for their lordships day in and day out, showing their consistency, that very much attracts Krishna's attention. So that is the second quality Krishna is mentioning. That, number one, we have to exclusively focus on Krishna without deviation. And number two, we have to consistently serve Krishna day in and day out. If we do these two things, Krishna is promising, then I will personally come and I will carry whatever you're lacking in your life. And whatever you have in your life, whatever assets you have, I will personally protect. So in the Sanskrit, the word uses yoga shema vahami aham. Vahami means personally. So Krishna is personally saying, I will personally carry what you lack. It could have been karomi aham. Karomi means I will get someone to protect you, and I will get someone to preserve what you have, and I'll get someone to carry what you lack. But the Acharyas explain that Krishna in this verse, he is saying not karomi aham, but vahami aman, which means I will personally, myself, come and take care of you. So it's given, there's Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu. Brahma is the creator, Shiva is the destroyer, and Vishnu is the maintainer of the universe. Now, when it comes to maintaining his devotees, the Acharyas explain that it's not Vishnu coming and maintaining his devotees, but it's Swayam Krishna himself. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath themselves, they come into the heart of the devotees and they personally watch over the devotees and personally take care of each and every one of the devotees. Because they feel very much obliged by the devotees' service. Now, I'll read the purport. One who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. This is called yoga. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to the material condition of life. Shema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga. And when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable conditioned life. So in the purport, Prabhupada is talking about how we should be 24 hours a day, be constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada is quoting the famous verse, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, the 9 different aspects of devotional service. So Prabhupada is saying, we should plan or engineer our life in such a way that 24 hours a day, somehow or other, we're engaged in serving Krishna. And it could be hearing about Krishna, it could be chanting about Krishna, it could be remembering, meditating about Krishna, it could be offering prayers to Krishna, or it could be worshipping the lotus feet of Krishna. That's also given as one of the 9 aspects of devotional service, Pada Sevanam. So Pada Sevanam, Srila Prabhupada explains, worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord doesn't mean physically coming and massaging, the lotus feet of your deities. But Prabhupada, he gives a nice broad explanation of Pada Sevanam. Pada Sevanam, Prabhupada explains, is anything in connection with Krishna's lotus feet. If you serve that, that is Pada Sevanam. Which means worshipping Srimati Tulsi Devi. That's also considered as worshipping Krishna's lotus feet. That's also considered as Pada Sevanam. Because who is Tulsi Devi? Tulsi Devi is always fixed at Krishna's lotus feet. So if we do Tulsi Puja at home, if we grow Tulsi in our house, if we sing prayers in front of Tulsi Marni, if we offer water onto Tulsi Devi, if we circumambulate around Tulsi Marni, even if we just take darshan of Tulsi Marni, all of these different items are different ways we can worship Tulsi Marni, and that's considered as Pada Sevanam also. Also, it's given by Prabhupada that serving the Vaishnavas, the devotees, that is also considered as Pada Sevanam. That is also considered as worshipping Krishna's lotus feet. Why? Because it is said in the Shastras that Krishna's devotees, they're just like bumblebees, which are always hovering around Krishna's lotus feet. Or they're just like dust particles, situated at the lotus feet of Krishna. So wherever Krishna's lotus feet are, that's where you'll find all of Krishna's devotees situated. So if someone is serving the Vaishnavas, he's doing Pada Sevanam, because the Vaishnavas are always at the lotus feet of the Lord. So serving the Vaishnavas, cooking prasad for them, serving them prasad, assisting them in their spiritual lives, that is also considered as Pada Sevanam. Another thing Prabhupada says also is Pada Sevanam is going to the Dham, visiting holy places of pilgrimage, doing Dham Seva, doing parikrama of different holy places of pilgrimage. That is also Pada Sevanam. Why? Because the holy places of pilgrimage are considered holy because Krishna, he put his lotus feet in that Dham. Because Krishna, he did pastimes in that particular place, That's how that place has become a tirtha. That's how that place has become a holy place of pilgrimage. So a place becomes holy because Krishna, he puts his lotus feet in that particular area, in that particular land. So when one visits the holy places of pilgrimage, one does parikrama, serves the dham, does some dham seva for the Vrajvasis or the Dhamvasis in that particular dham, that is also considered as pada sevanam. So in this way, Prabhupada, he gives a broad definition of pada sevanam. Doing Tulsi seva, doing Vaishnava seva, doing dham seva, all of these three things, Prabhupada explains, is also considered as pada sevanam. So pada sevanam doesn't mean physically coming and massaging, the lotus feet of your deities. But it can be any one of these other things also. Then next is serving the Lord as a servant, then in friendship, and then finally Atma Nivedana, completely surrendering oneself at the lotus feet of the Lord. So these are 9 different aspects of devotional service. So Prabhupada is saying, you plan your day in such a way, you engineer your life in such a way that some or other, during the 24 hours in your day, you're constantly engaged in one of these 9 different forms of devotional service. If you do like this, we can immediately attract Krishna's attention. In Bhagavatam, Narad Muni, there's one verse he says in 7th canto of Bhagavatam. He's observing the demons in Krishna Lila, and he's, out of his humility, Narad Muni is saying that when I observe these demons in Krishna Lila, all of them, 24 hours a day, they're just constantly absorbed in thinking about Krishna. And Narad Muni, out of humility, he's saying that I wish, just as these demons are constantly meditating on Krishna with such intensity, I wish I can also meditate on Krishna with that same intensity, 24 hours a day, just like the demons are doing. And the example given is that of Kamsa. It's given that Kamsa, he was also 24 hours a day, just constantly absorbed in thinking about Krishna. There are some examples the acharyas give into how Krishna conscious Kamsa was. He was completely gone mad in just thinking about Krishna. It's given that some examples the acharyas give is sometimes Kamsa's servant, they would bring water for Kamsa in a nice, gold glass. And, some fresh water when it comes, sometimes some bubbles will come up to the surface of the water in the glass. And then when the light from the ceiling, it reflects on the surface of the glass of water, then it looks very shiny, the top of the glass. The bubbles coming up with the light hitting the surface of the water. There's like this shiny, glittery effect. So one time, whenever Kamsa's servants used to bring in water for the king, and Kamsa, he would just notice the glittering surface of the water. Immediately, just by seeing the glittering surface of the water in the cup, he would immediately think of Krishna's beautiful, transcendentally effulgent crown. Just like if you look at Krishna's mukut, the crown, it will always be very effulgent, very glittery. So in the same way, Kamsa is seeing this water being carried to him, he is seeing this glittery effect on the water, and immediately he is reminded of Krishna, of Krishna's crown. Then immediately he tells his gods, gods, come quick, Krishna is here, arrest him, kill him. So like this, whenever water comes, Kamsa was just thinking about Krishna. Another time the acharyas give is his servants will bring him prasad, his lunch. Okay, he's the king, he has servants. Every day he has nice big feasts. So they'll bring him a nice plate of prasad. Now amongst the prasad, there will be different items. And different items will be in different colors. Whenever any items which will be yellowish or orangish in color, when Kamsa would see that, immediately he would think of Krishna's dhoti, which is yellow in color. For example, the acharyas give, one time, I read this there's one small book by Dinabandhu Prabhu called Raj Leela. Dinabandhu Prabhu, he's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada and he's a Vrajvasi. He's been living in Vrindavan for past so many decades. So he's explaining one time, his servants, they bring him some nice sweet, which was orangish in color. Most likely, Prabhu was saying, it's maybe gajar ka halwa, carrot halwa. Very nice, glittering. And immediately when Kamsa would see something like gajar ka halwa or nice yellowish dal, immediately he would see the halwa and he would think of Krishna's yellow dhoti, then immediately he'll go into his trance, and immediately he calls his gods, "Gods, come quick, it's Krishna. Krishna has come in. Get your swords, kill him, arrest him, arrest him." Another time, the Acharyas explain that Kamsa's 2 wives, they came to the assembly, where Kamsa was situated. So, as we know from Krishna book, Kamsa had married the 2 daughters of Jarasandha, another big demon. So the 2 daughters of Jarasandha, they were married to Kamsa. So Kamsa had 2 wives. And these 2 wives, they were sisters. So one time they come in to meet their husband. And naturally, when the wife comes to meet the husband, she decorates herself very nicely. So they're coming in. The 2 wives of Kamsa were decorated very nicely with jewels and ornaments. And immediately when Kamsa, he sees his 2 wives, immediately he thinks of Krishna and Balaram. Again, he calls his gods. "Gods, come quick, it's Krishna and Balaram. They've somehow sneaked into the palace. Arrest them, send them, kill them." Like this, again, he shouts at his gods. Then his 2 wives, they calm down. "My lord, calm down, calm down. It's us, we're your wives. Krishna and Balaram's not here. We're your wives, calm down." Like this, they have to calm Kamsa down. So like this, Kamsa was 24 hours a day, just completely absorbed in Krishna. When we drink water, we don't think of Krishna, we just drink. When we take prasad, when we take dal or gajar ka halwa, we just eat the prasad, just enjoy. We don't think of Krishna. And when we see our partners, we don't think of Krishna. But Kamsa, he was so absorbed, when he would see water, he would think of Krishna's crown. When he would see any prasad yellow in color, he would immediately think of Krishna's yellow dhoti. When he would see his wives decorated very nicely, he would immediately think of Krishna and Balaram, who used to also decorate themselves very nicely, with a lot of ornaments and jewels, so on and so forth. So in this way, the Acharyas explain, this is how completely mad and absorbed Kamsa was in Krishna. But he was absorbed in Krishna unfavorably. So Srila Rupa Goswami in Nectar Devotion, he gives a very famous verse, "Anya bilasita sunyam jnana karmadya navritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama." In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami, he gives the definition of pure devotional service. And he gives 5 characteristics of pure devotional service. Number 1, anya bilasita sunyam. Pure devotional service should be devoid of all material desires. It should be done simply for the sake of Krishna's pleasure. And jnana karmadi anavritam. It should be freed from fruitive activity, should be freed from mental speculation, which means we don't come and worship Krishna with some ulterior desire in mind. Okay, if I worship Krishna, I will get some money, I will get this, I will get that. Worshipping Krishna with that fruitive mentality, that's not pure devotional service. Then, Krishnanu. Krishnanu means devotional service has to be performed for Krishna and Krishna only, not for anyone else. It's exclusively for Krishna. As Krishna is saying here, Ananyas Chintayantamam. Then, another quality Rupa Goswami gives is Anushilanam. Anushilanam means devotional service should be positively cultivated. So we need to make an endeavor from our side to cultivate devotional service, to cultivate bhakti. So there needs to be some endeavor from our side to chant our rounds attentively, to try and come to the temple as often as possible, to learn some prayers and recite it in front of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. We need to cultivate nice relationships with the devotees of the Lord. We need to cultivate that relationship with Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, Tulsi Devi, Srila Prabhupada. We need to positively cultivate, proper service, seva bhav, service attitude. So in this way, Rupa Goswami explains, from our side, we should be constantly cultivating bhakti, devotional service in the hearts. The 5th characteristics Rupa Goswami gives of pure devotional service is anukulyena. Anukul means devotional service has to be favorable for Krishna. Only then it's considered as pure devotional service. So Kamsa, he was also 24 hours a day thinking of Krishna. But his service wasn't anukul, wasn't favorable for Krishna. Because he's not thinking 24 hours a day of Krishna in a favorable mood as, Krishna is my master, I am his servant, I need to serve him. He wasn't thinking of Krishna out of love and devotion. He was thinking of Krishna as Krishna as an enemy. He was thinking of Krishna with great hatred. How can I kill him? He's going to kill me in the future. Some or other I have to kill him. So this mood wasn't favorable. So that's why the Acharyas give that yes, we can learn from Kamsa how to be constantly absorbed 24 hours a day in Krishna. But the mistake Kamsa does is his mood or his consciousness wasn't favorable. He was thinking of Krishna in a negative way. But Prabhupada is saying we do in a positive way. My Guru Maharaj, sometimes he gives seminars called as lifestyle engineering. So we hear of different types of engineering, civil engineering, geotechnical engineering, electrical engineering, so on and so forth. So lifestyle engineering is something that we as devotees have to do. We have to somehow or other engineer our lifestyles in such a way that 24 hours a day, somehow or other, we're in touch with Krishna. Then Krishna will do his part of the bargain. Krishna says, if you do like this, constantly engage in my service, then I will carry what you lack and I will preserve whatever you have. In this regard, there is one pastime of Lord Jagannath. In Jagannath Puri, there was once a great devotee named Arjuna Mishra. And this devotee, Arjuna Mishra, he was a great devotee of Lord Jagannath. He was a very simple Brahmana. And he used to love reading Bhagavad Gita. And every day he would read all 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. Every day he would read the entire Bhagavad Gita. And because of his dedication to studying the Gita, the devotees in Jagannath Puri, they named him as the Gita Pandit. So he was famously known as the Gita Pandit in Jagannath Puri. Every day he would sit and he would read all 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. And he was a very staunch devotee of Lord Jagannath. He had full faith in Lord Jagannath. Whatever happened in his life, he always just understood it as Lord Jagannath's mercy. And he was very simple. He wouldn't work. He would just stay at home, study. During the day, he would go out, beg from house to house. Whatever food or prasad he got by begging, he would just subsist on that. He would use that to maintain his whole family. So he had great faith in Lord Jagannath and in Bhagavad Gita. One week, what happened? For a whole week, it was just raining non-stop. Just like in Sydney, a couple of months ago, we had the non-stop rainfall for nearly 2 weeks. So the same thing happened in Jagannath Puri, 1 week. For an entire week, 7 days, non-stop, it was raining in Jagannath Puri. Because it was raining, he couldn't go out to beg in charity. There were no umbrellas or this and that. He didn't have raincoats, so on and so forth. So he couldn't go out to beg. 1 day went by, second day by, third day went by. And slowly, all the stock of food which was present in his house ran out. But still he couldn't go out begging because it was raining. But he wasn't disturbed. He was a pure devotee of Lord Jagannath. He just saw everything as Lord Jagannath's will. He just said, Lord Jagannath will take care. Whatever is happening is Lord Jagannath's mercy. And he saw everything in a positive way. He was thinking to himself that actually this is a great opportunity to study Gita even more. Usually every day I have to go out begging. 1-2 hours goes wasted in just trying to get food. Now it's good, it's raining. I don't have to go out. I get an extra 1-2 hours to read Bhagavatam or to read Bhagavad Gita. Another 1-2 hours to worship my dear Lord Jagannath. So he wasn't disturbed. He was actually very happy. Although all the food ran out in his house, although he was starving, his wife was starving, his 3 children were starving, he was very detached. And he was just taking it as all Lord Jagannath's mercy. And he was continuing reading. Then, after a few days, his wife gets annoyed and his wife comes and starts chastising him. That, what are you doing? We're all starving. Your 3 children, they're starving. We've completely ran out of food in the house. Go out, do something. Get some food, get some money. Otherwise, we're all going to die. And then this Gita Pandit, Arjuna Mishra, he pacifies his wife. Says, don't worry. Have faith in Lord Jagannath. He's the supreme maintainer. Why won't he take care of his devotees? We are his sincere devotees. He will take care of us. Don't worry. And then to pacify his wife, to give her faith, he opens up his Bhagavad Gita and he comes exactly to the same text we're discussing now. Chapter 9, text number 22. The exact same verse we've been talking about today. He opens up to that exact same verse and he shows this verse to his wife. That just see what Lord Jagannath is writing or speaking in this verse in 9th chapter. For those who worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So he shows this verse to his wife and he tells her, just see, this is what Lord Jagannath is saying. Lord Jagannath is assuring us that for his devotees, he will carry what they lack. Okay, we don't have food in the house, don't worry, Lord Jagannath will take care. He has made this promise in Gita, you have faith in Lord Jagannath's word. When his wife, she hears all this, Gita words from her husband, she just gets even more angry. She gets even more annoyed. And she just leaves and goes to sleep. Next day in the morning, she wakes up and her anger hasn't subsided. She comes back, opens up the Gita of her husband, and she goes exactly to that same verse, which he had showed her the last night. Then she gets a pen and then she crosses that verse. She puts 3 lines across that particular verse out of anger. That this husband of mine is just so, he's just so sentimental. We're starving here and he's just, giving Gita class, talking about this and that. So out of anger, she crosses out this verse. She puts 3 lines to that. Then after some time, there is a knock on the door of the house. Someone is knocking. Then she goes, opens the door and she sees 2 very beautiful young boys standing outside her door. One boy is very blackish in color and the other boy is very whitish in complexion. And they look exquisitely beautiful. And they have 2 grocery bags, which full of veggies, grains, dal, whatever ingredients needed to cook a big feast. They have these 2 big, huge grocery bags with them. And they come and offer this to this Mataji, that we heard, your husband Arjuna Mishra has sent us to give this to you. You please accept this and you cook some nice prasad for you and your husband. Then seeing the beauty of these 2 young boys, her heart becomes completely melted out of motherly affection. And she tells them, the 2 young boys, please come inside, I will cook some nice prasad, you also take. And then this blackish boy, out of the 2, he tells this Mataji that no, I can't eat. Actually, I have 3 cuts in my tongue. And because of these 3 cuts in my tongue, I can't eat anything. Whenever I put something in my mouth, my tongue burns. And it's too painful for me, so that's why I can't eat. Then they both leave, then they go away. Then she cooks a big feast, and Arjuna Mishra, he comes. Then he sees the whole kitchen is full of bhoga. Then immediately he asks his wife, where did all this come from? Who has brought all this bhoga? How did you get all this? Then his wife tells, no, you only sent some 2 young boys to come. They were very beautiful. One was black, one was very white. I invited them to stay back, take prasad, but the blackish boy said he had 3 cuts in his tongue, and that's why he can't take anything. When Arjuna Mishra, he hears this, he immediately understands that these 2 boys are none other than Krishna and Balram, Lord Jagannath and Lord Baladev, from the Jagannath Puri temple, who had personally come to show this Mataji that yes, what I'm saying in the Gita is true. I personally come and I carry what my devotees lack. So then immediately this Gita Pandit along with his wife, they immediately go running into the temple of Lord Jagannath. They offer dandavats and they come to beg forgiveness from the Lord. That please forgive our offenses. My wife, without knowing, out of foolishness, she had crossed 3 lines. Remember in the Gita? Out of anger, she had put 3 lines across this famous verse, 9.22. So when she had done that, what she had actually done, she had cut Lord Jagannath's tongue in 3 places. Because Bhagavad Gita is non-different from Krishna. It is words coming directly from Krishna's mouth. So when we're reading Bhagavad Gita, we're actually directly associating with Lord Jagannath. We're actually associating with Krishna himself. So when they come to the temple to take darshan of Lord Jagannath and beg forgiveness, as they're taking darshan of Lord Jagannath, they see in Lord Jagannath's beautiful smile, they're seeing 3 red dots on Lord Jagannath's face. Those 3 red dots are those 3 places where this Mataji had cut in the Bhagavad Gita across a verse. Then they offer beg for forgiveness and offer their gratitude to Lord Jagannath. So in this way, there's this famous pastime behind this verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text number 2. So yes, Krishna, he feels very grateful and obliged to all the services his devotees do. And out of great obligation, gratefulness, Krishna, he personally comes and he personally maintains his devotees. Whatever his devotees lack, Krishna will personally come and fulfill that, carry what they lack. And Krishna will personally come and protect us at all times, places, and circumstances.